So again, this is the month of Elul. And one thing I think is awesome too, is as we share it over and over, each one of his months, in God's times, each month has become more and more into Hebraic understanding. And to think as he's thinking, we find that each month contains its own personality, own characteristics, its own truths. Because what that does to us is that I cannot walk in this month like I did last month. I cannot respond the same because there's portals, there's doors, there's opportunities that God has opened up and various different things he's placed before us, God things within his times in which, as he sets before us, that he wants us to walk in so that we may prosper and walk effectively. So the more I know about the time as I step into it, it allows me to understand, allows me to prosper, allows me to be effective. So I want, if God has opened up a portal, if God has opened up various different doors, and he has resources that are available to me, I want to be able to be aware of that and be able to walk accordingly. You know, I'm getting rid of this Gregorian mindset that has me stuck on August and September. There's nothing but names. I want to get into God's times, because when he put things in line, he did it for a purpose, and it's embedded with purpose. So as we look at the month of Elul, again, everyone can try to say, well, are those names and everything else are divine names? Well, no, you can go back in history and find they're not so, but that doesn't change the flavor of what's happening in that month. The principle, the days, the times, whether 29, 30, what have you, they are embedded according to what God has placed within them. Man's placed a name upon them. So this month we look at and we call it Elul. It is the 6th month on the Hebraic calendar. As we approach this the high holidays, Elul sits right before Tishrei. And Tishrei, or September, as we go into it, you guys, for those that may be aware, or those that may be not aware, in the month of Tishrei, it's during a time where you hear us speak of a time called Rosh Hashanah. It's the head of the year. There's a time also that happens right behind it, and it's called Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they consider are like the high holidays or the high days in which Rosh Hashanah is looked upon, and we'll get into the teaching of that all by itself and go off, but that speaks in terms of like the creation of the world. And also right behind Yom Kippur, we have the season of Sukkot. So once you step, next month, we're stepping into a time we call high holidays. So we'll have all three of those major ones coming up on us very quickly. And these are all within God's times calendar. So as we approach these high holidays, there's a season in which Hebraically, the Jewish mindset, they go forth acknowledging what season it is, then they'll greet each other with various different sayings. As you come into Elul, they have a saying for this way in this month too, as they go to greet each other. If they go to greet each other, it says, the greeting is, may you be sealed and inscribed. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. In other words, preparing you as you step into this time. That, if you run to a lot of your Jewish brethren, they'll be much more, knowledgeable and embracing of these thoughts as they move forward. But it is a great blessing to speak upon them, to look upon them, and just instead of saying, what's up? Or instead of saying, how you doing? You may just say, may you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Of it is appointed mercy from the hand of God. It kind of gives you a flavor for what you run into as you step into this month. If he says that the Alpha is identified with you, and it's going to say the appointed mercy from the hand of God. As we get into try to understand as we step into this month, the title of tonight's study as we move forth is going to be The King is in the Field. It's another personality that's associated with this month, but we'll talk a little bit more about it. The King is in the field. There's a small poetic book of only about 117 verses that's tucked away within the Tanakh, within the scriptures. It's an incredible gem. Often it's overlooked, and when people go to read it, it's misunderstood and misrepresented. But I believe its context is the embodiment of the spirit of Elul. Why? That's because this month reveals the intimacy of our relationship with God. That's what this month's about. It deals with the intimacy of our relationship with God. This little story that's tucked off into the scriptures is a beautiful story that pictures our relationship with our Creator. As you view through it and see it Hebraically, because God views his relationship between Israel and his covenant people as that of a bride and a groom, or a husband and a wife. This little gem of a book that we find in Scripture is called the Song of Solomon. The Song of Solomon. You see, why you say that book kind of reminds, because it deals with intimacy. It deals with one-on-one, with this reflection of this whole month. You see, the month of Elul is all about unlocking the door. This month is about unlocking the door and revealing the compelling issues of the heart. What is driving your heart? Unlock it. It speaks in terms of an openness, a oneness. This is what God is looking for us in this month, during this time. You're going to find yourself being checked in different categories within yourself, in your prayer life, as you sit one-on-one, in your going to and fro. When you're connected to the Almighty, that little voice is going to come inside you, and it's going to be prompting you. And once you see it, this is not something that's just happening. You should be mindful and aware, because if he's trying to unlock the door, if he's trying to open you up, he wants to get inside to those secret places that you've been able to maintain throughout the year. But now this year, during this time, he's trying to unlock you and get you ready. He's trying to reveal those compelling issues, those things that drive your heart. You know, the decisions I'm making and what I'm doing. Why am I doing like I'm doing? What stirred me that's guiding my thoughts throughout the year, throughout the month? You know, things like within myself I can justify because I'm feeling certain thoughts and I'm camped on them. God said, I want to open things up, and I need you to stop, and I need to look at those compelling issues. What's in your heart? What's driving you? That's, as you come into this month of Elul, he says, I'm trying to open it up, because in this unlocking, in this compelling, God wants to meet us in a special way this month. He wants to enter into a special time of intimacy and communion. That's what the book of Song of Solomon is all about. It's about openness. When you go into the story and you just read about it, you see that there's nothing barred. I mean, they're open, and their hearts are yearning. There's no hiddenness. It's intimate and they're true. There's no agenda, but the love is true. That's what the book is about. That's what God is saying. God is saying, he's prompting our hearts, getting us ready. As you come through this month, I want to unlock you. I'm slow down just a little bit more here, because, see, we all can have a facade. See, people can hurt my feelings, and I'll say, you'll never hurt me there again. Sometimes I can get prideful, and sometimes I don't even know it's prideful. There's times in which I can be very protective, because I don't know what some people's motives are. And like a firewall in our system, we've got to be mindful of some things, because you don't want to just gullible open yourself up to everybody. But what he's saying is, in the whole essence of it, there's things that I can become comfortable with, but God may not be. He says, I know why you did what you did. I know where you came from when you did that. Now, that sufficed up to this point, but let's stop and let's take a look at it. And I need you to be right. I need you to be healthy. Because, as you get into relationships and things, God says sometimes people can open their heart and they get hurt to the point that that was not his intent. God is love, and he wants to meet us right where we're at. He don't want no facade. He wants openness. We need openness. I need to be honest with myself. So that's what this month is going to be about. It's unlocking and opening the door. Interestingly, this word Elul, as I speak in terms, I said it has a connection to that little book. It is intimately connects with this book in an acrostic fashion. What do you mean? The word Elul is an acrostic. Now I can keep on moving across this and just assume everyone knows what that means. I said, do you know what I mean when I say that? I'm not talking to all you brilliant ones. I'm just talking about us common people. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean when you say that? Well, before I go to respond, how many of you like crossword puzzles? How many of you ever seen crossword puzzles? Everyone's familiar with them. My mom just used to love them, used to work with them. I got an aunt who's incredible with them. I don't care that much for them. But a crossword puzzle is associated with this word acrostic. See, if I go to Webster's dictionary, Webster defines the word acrostic as this. The word acrostic is a word puzzle or a composition in which certain letters in each line form a word or words. Again, for me to say Elul is an acrostic, what I'm saying, he says, according to Webster, when I use that word, he says, it's a word puzzle. That's what it says. Elul is a word puzzle, or a composition in which certain letters in that word, in each line, form a word or words. That's where you find it. It falls in the book of Solomon. Because in Solomon, chapter 6, verse 3, there's a verse that reads, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. If you take that little statement I just read, and you take it back to its original Hebrew, into that language in this text, that word in Hebrews, those I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine, translates the first letter of each word translates from Hebrew into the word Elul. So in essence, I guess you can say Elul is a heavenly version of Scrabble. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. An acrostic. Intimacy. I loved it when I heard my wife, Anita, as you were speaking during prayer to advance, you started talking about this intimacy. And that was right on for this time, this season, this month, where we're at. That piece, that word, sets the whole theme for Elul. When God talks about, he says, this is the season he wants to open the door. He wants to crack the heart. He wants to go inside. He wants to unveil and see what's taking place. This is something that's not something that's a high overview. This is not something that's just surface view. He wants to get intimate. He needs to understand. When we come into this time of reflection, specifically as we prepare our hearts, they step into the high holy days. He says there's a time before I step into Rosh Hashanah. These times are times of reflection and introspection, where people are reflecting back on their lives and seeing what's going on, how they're going to change, what do they need to do to be right. Yom Kippur is the same there. Same thing there. It's a time in which people are doing a lot of soul searching, specifically Hebraically. They're doing a lot of soul searching. Elul is the preparatory time getting you ready for that season. So it speaks in terms of not high view, but it talks about he wants to understand the intimate thinking and the mindset, what's going on in your heart. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's the basis of your decision? Where's your compassion coming from? Where's your generosity coming from? That's what we find in the Song of Solomon. We find it speaks in terms of intimacy. God captures in that book the uniqueness and the distinctiveness of this relationship. It's open, nothing, no walls, in a manner that honors and glorifies him. Why? This being the month. This is the month that we respond to the yearning within. What are you talking about? That yearning within, something calling you inside. It's the call to return, where he's pulling at you. It's that response during this time, that yearning within. He said that response that nothing on earth can feel but him. We can fill it with a lot of stuff. We can fill it with people. We can fill it with time, with our games. We can fill it with activity. But we're empty. There's something that he's yearning inside. When I sit there, it's like, I can't get enough. I don't know what it is, but I'm just restless. It's not enough. He said, I'm yearning within. There's something that he's calling you, that he's telling you to come back. Come back to your first love. This month of Elul, that's what it's about. Again, Elul is all about unlocking the door, opening oneself up, and revealing the compelling issues that's driving the heart. Again, it's all about intimacy with a covenant heart. So you're linked with him. God is a covenant-keeping God. And he says he's linked. He shed blood for this relationship. He's linked with you, and he wants you to come back to him, aligned, so that you can prosper and be blessed. It's a season of return this month. This is also a critical transitional month. It's a critical transitional month as we prepare for the new year, as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, camping out with Sukkot, preparing ourselves to come into the presence of the King of Kings. And I'm not just going to come anyway. I love that there's a certain protocol that one holds as you walk before a king, or a diplomat. You can't just be, you don't just walk up and they'll greet you at the door, or they'll prepare you if you happen to have the opportunity to go into royalty, the presence in England, or if you had an appointment to go to the White House, or if you had an appointment to go to the governor's mansion. There's a way that you enter. You don't enter in like you walk into your front room. So to prepare ourselves, we're going through these steps, opening up, looking at the heart, checking the motives, seeing where we're at. Because I'm preparing myself, because as a step before the presence of the King, I want to be able to stand righteously. Why? For Elul is the month when we say the King is in the field. The King is in the field. This is when he is especially accessible to you. It's one thing to walk upon him. See, I can sit there and I can pray to God any day, anytime. The throne room is to my avail all the time. I can pray. But see, there's something about God tells you, when you walk in sync with him, there's a time for everything. I loved it like when Yeshua had attended the wedding banquet with his parents and his mother and his brethren. And you remember that the story says they ran out of wine. He looked at what it says. He didn't look up and said, I'll get in more bed. He says, my time has not yet come. Even him, he finds himself, he says, I only do what I see my Father do, and I'm going to speak what I hear him say. I'm going to stay and link and say and sync with him. So there's a time for everything. In this month, I heard God put forth me to say something like this. The accessibility to heaven is really good right now. He says the access, when the king steps into the field, he's coming out of his palace, he's coming out to his area, he's coming out to meet you where now you're not going through a lot of the red tape. He's accessible to you right now. That's what he said. Through this month, as you pray and you seek him, understand, the effectiveness of where you stand, because he says they call this month the month that the king is in the field because of the great accessibility of him to you. Now if he's coming in the field, see, he's not coming empty-handed. As we study and we learn this, he's not just coming out just to walk and just look at you. No, he's coming in his kingly state. And when he comes, he's bringing the 3-in-1 blessings with him. As he comes upon that, he's coming to you, and you can know for a surety when the king is before you, that when the king comes before you, he's coming before you, not empty-handed, but he's coming before you to kneel before you because he's bringing you gifts. He's bringing you the gifts, and he's enhancing your calling and the fruits that's within you. He knows your thoughts and the mindset of where you're at. Yahweh will come before you presenting gifts. And when he comes, you're really vulnerable. He's going to guard you with a hedge of protection. That's what we speak when he says, as we conclude each of our gatherings. So you can know as you stand before him, he's coming to you with the 3-in-1. Not only will he kneel before you, but Yahweh will illuminate the wholeness of his being toward you. Bring in order. And he will beautify you. It's like his spirit when it hovered over the earth. And he could have left everything like it is, he says, but God looked at it, he says, let there be, for the earth was void, chaotic. God's not going to stand before my presence and leave me in a chaotic mess. He's going to bring order in my life. But hear his voice. Scripture says that he will lift up his whole being and look upon you. And he will set in place all you need to be whole and complete. The king is in the field. Again, this month, the month of Elul, is where we say that the king is in the field. In the field. What does that mean? Why we say the king is in the field? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because when I say king is in the field, I see him walking out in the pastures and stuff. This is such an agricultural term. It's hard for a lot of us in the city to relate to what's going on here. Let me say it this way. It says, the king is in the field. Do you know we become so modern with our iPads and our iPhones and our iWatches, and we've got computers, we've got Roku, and we've got, streaming, we've got 4D. We got so many things coming at us that, we get to a point that, we get to, I was talking to Amalia. She made a comment earlier. I said, welcome back to Des Moines. And she said she'd come out of 106 temperature. And we all go, woo! But there was a time when they didn't have central air. And there was a time when people thought it was wonderful when you had fans. I mean, we as kids were running outside playing ball, and it was hot enough. Get out. I mean, we didn't know. There's no way that we know that you can be cool, so that was just a summer day. Just at the same time, there was a time when we didn't go to Hy-Vee. People weren't running down to Hy-Vee and Fairway to get the stuff. Everyone had fields. People were growing food, farming things. Just like I remember going to my grandmother's. We come from the city and we go up. I told you guys about this before. But it would have been nothing. I'm just going with my grandma. You go out back and she had chickens running around all the back in this coop. On the outside of the yard, she had a big old garden. I mean, she was growing stuff because not just to take at the plants. I mean, that was supper. She had a big old, and because we had all these kids, that little garden, we don't get it. She had borrow the neighbor's lot because she needed a bigger garden because we had more mouths to feed. And so we come down there go down the prairie on Sunday. Come from the city, and Susie come in. She'd be, oh, hi, baby, how you doing? Go out there and pick up some corn. And you go get some greens, but pick up some greens and go out and get some tomatoes and get some cucumbers while you're at it. She's getting supper ready, but she's laughing. We just hugging and stuff. Oh, how you been? Are you good? Oh, I'm hungry, Grandma. I know, son. Go out there and get some cucumbers. Go out there and there's some turnips on that one side. Don't step on those strawberries. Go get turnips, And we would go out there in the field. See, Sherry's smiling. She's queen of the gang club. See, she knows exactly what I'm talking about. She says, let me be with your grandma. We can have a blast. She said, I'll show her how to plant that stuff. And we come in the house, and grandma would walk around, and they had those little summer dresses on and aprons, be all tied up on her. And we'd be coming in the house with all this stuff, and she'd be just talking to us, and she'd just wiping her hands and going in the kitchen, shredding it, shucking corn and doing the peas and stuff. Had a field. No Hy-Vee, no Super Value, no Safeway. Is ours. You hungry? Out back. I go out and watch the little movies, Little House on the Prairie. You see them back behind the mule and the horses and going like this. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, look at all that land. But see, that was normal. Oh, you people with this iTunes and iPads, see, you guys used to going down on McDonald's and Hardee's and everything else. I don't need to, we eat stuff quickly. In fact, I remember I was talking about my grandmother when Bisquick first came out with those rolls. You pull up, oh man, because grandma she had flour everywhere. And she'd be kneading them biscuits and stuff, man. She'd make them, there's a wonderful biscuits. And she's making all stuff. And then Safeway, somebody came out and they had a Bisquick. And she about to work on something, and all of a sudden I seen this thing. She pulled from the letter, pop! And the dough, pump out the thing. We got that. This was magic. Pop! Because no flour, no dough, pop! Pull them apart, stick them on the pan, put them in the oven. Read the back of the thing, it says 15, 20 minutes. You knew everything. See, they understood fields. But some of us, like Sherry, I think the Frausenbergs, we still have fields out there planting. I remember when some of us, I don't know how many of you guys ever did tassel corn. Oh, yes. What about walk beans? Oh. Cow, put both hands. Boy, they get you out there early in the morning, walking those beans, your pants get wet, and you be slugging. Boy, you become intimately familiar with mosquitoes. Because you be out there, you bent over. And I used to get so mad because they always find the spot where my shirt went up. Walking through those tassels. I remember those times. So it says, in the field. But basically, what it says in the field, because that's where the people used to go get the food. The field is wherever we work to get our food or to produce a living. Produce a living. What are you telling me? I tell you, it says, it doesn't make a difference whether you're in the field of farming or in the gang club. I don't care if you're in the field of banking, the field of steel making, the field of medicine. You can be in the field of teaching or even the field of advertising. We all work in the field. But basically what it says, this is the month that the King is going to step into our field, into our place of work, into our place of gathering, wherever we may be. I don't care if you're in medicine or if you're walking into the hospital corridors. If I'm sitting in my studio because I have my agency, he'll walk down there. He's stepping where I work. He's stepping where I live. The King has stepped into the field. He's in the field. He's in the place of my commonality, and he's making himself available to me. He says, I don't care if you're sitting in the banking. He says, I'm right there with you. I'm stepping from my throne room into your area of access to make myself As we step into this time, what does that mean? This month, Elul, again, because of its openness and intimacy, Elul is a transitional month that we identify of preparing for his presence. Again, it's a time of reflection. He's opened the door. He wants to take a look. This month is also a time of repentance and mercy. It's a time of forgiveness. It's a month, a time where God is moving into your heart and He's checking you, having you check things out. He says, I want to see where you're at. You need to unload some cargo. You need to forgive. You need to have mercy. It's a time where sometimes you look back and specifically when things are wide open, there's no hidden agendas, and you be honest with yourself, you can shake your head and say, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. That's good. I need you to take a look at that. I heard scripture says, one time it says, if you found out that you have an ought with your brother and you're trying to come up and come before my presence with your giving and your offerings and things and seeking to be blessed and bringing your first fruits, I mean, you're doing all these things right. He said, but you have an ought. Yeah, but God, you said that I should give my first fruits and a tithe. You tell me how to prepare myself to come before your presence. But God says, if you start to prepare that and you're open and honest and you're reflecting and you're doing introspection and you find that there's an ought between you and your brother, lay your stuff at the altar. Don't come before me. Stop right there. Go back and get it right with him. He said, I want you to go back. He said, because why? Yeah, the stuff is correct, but the spirit is wrong. He said, you're carrying stuff and you got a broken spirit or a mean spirit that you're looking for me to bless that when you can't even have mercy and forgiveness for your brother. Yeah, Cain and Abel. He says, so you're sitting here, he said, with that spirit. And if I was to sit there and try and say, yes, I shall give you the multiplication of heaven, I'm going to continue to bless you, he said, then I'll be sinning too, collaborating with you. He said, but I cannot have that brokenness come before my presence. Drop your gift. Go home. Go before your brother. Make it right. And you'll find that out, especially during this time when you start opening up your heart and reflecting. Think about it. He says it's a time of teshuvah. It's a time of mercy. And it's a time of forgiveness. It's the best diet in the world. You'll be surprised how big a weight you lose. See, in this time, as I'm preparing myself to come before his presence, this is critical. See, I want to be sure that careful that I'm in the correct position, that I'm positioned correctly. You know, I need to align myself. You know, I don't want to be the goats. I want to be over here with the sheep. I need to make sure I'm listening to what he's saying. And as he's speaking, and I understand what he's telling me, he said, this is the month where I really need to press into the promises. So God, in your word, you said this. God, you told me that you would bless me. Father, I am needed. You know, right during this month, it can be kind of tight, where the enemy can come at you and you try to say, I can't even pray right now. God's trying to say, you need to press through because the enemy is trying to stop you from your blessings. Yeah, but you don't know me. I got kids knocking on my door and I can't find a place, get alone. God says he knows where you're at. He's in the field and he's walking up on you. You need to press into the promises. And he says, and when you press, believe me, don't just settle. He said, don't settle for anything less. Again, as the king steps up, with the king so accessible in the field, I'm going to wrap it up with this thought. Now that the king is in the field and I walk up to him and he's accessible. You know, there's times when I can't seem like I can't get a text message or an email through. Phone lines are broken down. You know, I'm trying to call someone and technology doesn't favor me. But there has to be a time where everything is working well. I don't need to call him. I don't need to text him. He stepped right up on me, and he's right in my field. They said he's accessible. He's there face to face. Now that he's so accessible, you know, I need to ask myself some questions as I'm preparing for him. And now that I see him, I need to ask myself a question. Is there any part of my life I have not put completely in God's hands? This is intimate time. I've opened the heart, opened the doors. God is stepping through. He's putting a check in my spirit. There's a call within, a call return. He's putting a yearning on my spirit. When I hear his voice, I'm moving, I'm sitting there in my quiet time, he's dealing with me. So then I try and say, God, as I stop and I think, I'm reflecting back, I need to understand, is there any part of my life that I have not put completely in God's hands? What am I holding back? What am I willing to carry over for the next year? What am I doing? Another thought says, as I know, as a king is standing before me, and he's fully accessible, and I'm asking these questions, there's another question I should probably ask as well. I said, what am I worrying over right now that I need to entrust to him? What am I carrying? What is the worries that I'm worrying about right now? What am I worrying over that I need to entrust to him? You know, I need to look at my cares and my anxieties. Look what's going on in my life. What am I carrying? What am I worrying over? Look at the warfare that threatens to engulf me. What am I fighting over? What are my battles set before me? Things I think are too big. Look at the warfare that threatens to engulf me. Then I need to cast them on to God, just knowing that he will sustain me. The king is accessible. He's here. He's confronting my mind. I need to cast my worries. I need to see, what is he saying? Again, the king is in the field. If you're anything like me, I say, let's go out and meet him. It's a precious time. This month of Elul, a time of intimacy, a time of openness, a time of acknowledging the accessibility of the king, the time I need to open up and look inside, the time I need to unload some of this weight that's been carrying me. I heard the writer in Hebrews, he says, so we should lay aside every weight and sin that so easily beset us. I need to back off. This month, Father, it's easy for me to respond arrogantly at times, but you're telling me, if I look back, just as you look through my life, I've seen a lot of things that I've done. And Father, it was nothing but your mercy that you said in your scriptures, that your mercies are renewed daily. So Father, I need to forgive, teshuvah, and express forgiveness. The month of Elul, an incredible month that God's preparing our hearts to be effective this month. Amen? That we may walk effective this month.